Come line up if you have questions.
Hello, great job. I'm a drama teacher, so first of all, great job. And I never have boys in my class. So what would your advice be to get more boys in the class?
How do we get young men? Who'd like to answer that question? How do we get young men interested in doing theater before they come to prison?
Oh, okay.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm not saying anything. I'm just the mic holder.
Oh, okay. Well, my advice would be, excuse me. Thank you. No, seriously, my advice would just be, try to make topics or want to do something centered around what it is that they're dealing with. And a lot of times it's going to be hard initially, but that first experience is going to change them. So just figure out what it is, like exactly who you want to target. It's just marketing. Knowing your audience, how do you target them? And if it's through sports, if it's through talking about personal experiences, desires, dreams, or traumas, something that they want to share but haven't had the space to. Once you create that space, you'll be surprised with the amount of people that want to get involved.
Hey, to piggyback on that too, just show them what we doing. Because if they see, oh, these hardcore dudes up in prison doing it, you know, these hardcore dudes up in prison doing it, maybe it may be a model for them to emulate and show them if it's cool for them, it could be cool for you.
Big Jason, because I'm pretty sure you're going to meet the other Jason. I think he's the big Jason. But it's all about building a connection with them, because first you have to build a connection with us, and then after you build that connection, then it's about educating us on what it is to be a man first. Because a lot of us grew up we had this false mindset of what it was to be a man. So you have to allow them to be their authentic selves and go in as a little boy and mature up into a man.
Thank you so much. Next question. Tell us your name.
Hi, I'm Karen Hamer. I actually come from New Zealand, but recently was involved for a couple of years. Kiwi. Recently involved for a couple of years in a Colorado prison teaching Shakespeare there. And anyway, my question is, we in the Shakespeare world, I won't speak for Leslie, but for myself, we like to think there's something kind of special about Shakespeare. And I'm curious to know if there's something special about Shakespeare, or if it's something that's created by doing drama as a group, or if you can replicate what feels meaningful to you here in another group. Like, doesn't matter, it could be sports, could be creative writing. It's a long question. Can anyone unpack it?
Is there something special about Shakespeare? And I know the right answer to this question.
I would like to say, first off, I'm just going to unpack the first part and let somebody else do the rest. But Shakespeare is relevant today. The same social issues that were going on in Shakespeare's time that he was writing about, subjugation, over sentencing. We just did Measure for Measure, and if anybody's seen that, it's about the people who have power, take power and misuse it, but then apply laws to somebody who don't have the advantage or the privilege to fight against it. And it's like an oppressive part all the way to the end, to where the woman still doesn't have the voice at the end to say whether she gets married or not. It's always left kind of hanging out there. So Shakespeare's always relevant. You can apply it to today's society and say, wow, I didn't know that they were putting poor people in prison back then, and they're doing it today. Get people involved. I think it's just, like my friend Marshall. Where are you? There he is. He used to clown me because I do Shakespeare. He'd be like, I ain't doing all that stuff. And why are you saying this in public, dude? Because it needs to be aired out, man. We need to have this. But he always clowned me. And then one day we were reading Merry Wives of Windsor, and he was like, wow, this is some really racy, well-written words. And he wanted to be part of it. And that's when he joined the Shakespeare group. So to answer the first part of your question, it's the relevance that Shakespeare has today when you just sit down, you unpack what's really being the social issues that continue to plague humanity even through all these different centuries.
So as you
even intellectually and also emotionally, because when you read these things, these same emotions pop up later. My friend Emil, he's not here, but he played this lovesick boy who ran after, I can't remember the lady's name, Phoebe, but he just could not win her heart for nothing, and he was a sucker for her. There's so many guys that have been the sucker, you know, just because that's the way life is. So emotionally, it's also, if you can get into those words and how things are, humanity really hasn't changed. And I think what Shakespeare was looking for was, he was providing a platform to have a discussion, to get answers. And I think that's what the men are doing here when they write their own personal pieces. They're providing a platform to say, these are some of the problems, but we also, these men right here have answers to a lot of social problems we have today, you know, and take time to ask each one individually afterwards to find out, you know, their point of view. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Well, Shakespeare, my name is Drew Andrew Wadsworth, and Shakespeare intellectually, you know, in my opinion, is basically, it's just like writing an essay. You come up with your introduction, you come up with your point, and you come up with the information, then you explain. And then you get to revise, and then you do this process over and over and over and over again. And then here comes the frustrations. You know, in Shakespeare, it's a lot of frustration. And then also, Shakespeare also, when it comes to ideas, you know, like for me, ideas pop up in the last minute, which a lot of people get mad at me for, because my ideas pop up, like I'm talking about very much at the last minute. And so, you know, and that's the revising part. And also the frustration, and then also it goes from frustration to, you know, to having control over your emotions to composure. And then it comes, like I say, to new inventions and stuff like that. So anyway, intellectually, basically, it's like writing an essay. You know, you get to, you know, come up with new ideas and reinvent.
All right. So I'm gonna build on what they talked about already. My name is Colossal Jason. Y'all met Big Jason. I'm Colossal Jason. Yes. I grew up in like a very poor area, and it was very racist. You feel me? So for me, just speaking personally, like I never wanted to hear about a white man's writing or anything. You feel me? So like actually taking the time and breaking it down and understanding, like, man, they went through the same stuff that my people went through. Like coming in here and doing something like by a black author would have been easy for me. But doing something from a white author that I never took the time to as a kid to even embrace or even try to understand was completely like mind-blowing for me. You understand? I think that everything else afterwards, the experience that we have in here, is like extra. You know what I mean? Because it becomes like a real family. Dysfunctional at times, but it's family. You know what I mean? And I enjoy that it's dysfunctional because I know how to be in a dysfunctional family. You know what I mean? And I think that I speak for a lot of us. Like I look forward to the Wednesday and Fridays. You know what I mean? Because like no matter what I'm going through, unfortunately where I'm at, when I'm going through something, I can't just go home and go to my family and be there with my family. You feel me? But I know Wednesday and Friday I can go with my other family. You know what I'm saying?
So, Karen, just to answer that question a little bit more, I think today we saw a representation of a lot of different aspects of the program. There is that intellectual part of Shakespeare that the ideas in Shakespeare, the ideas about what does it mean when Richard is incarcerated and he's no longer a king and all he has is himself. What is his sense of self when you're incarcerated and the things that were dear to you are taken away from you? What does that do to you? Ideas like that, like about how the law is justly or unjustly practiced. But there's also elements of doing any kind of theater that are beneficial, and you saw some of the exercises that we do in this class in some of the plays, like express an emotion and physicalize it, and then we'll all repeat it, or look into somebody else's eyes and have have that connection with someone else. And there's great things that about any kind of theater that are healing and wonderful things. But Shakespeare adds a whole layer of ideas and thoughts about history and philosophy and humanity. And then there's things that, are just positive benefits to any kind of a program like sports, teamwork and trust and goal setting and working together. But all of those things come together in this work in a way that I think you would be hard-pressed to find with a whole lot of other kinds of programs. So ours is there's many, many benefits. All right, David.
Okay. Hi, you guys. So I'm Deva, and I used to volunteer for this program for a number of years, so it's great to see those of you I've known before. I wanted to say, first of all, awesome show. It was so good, you guys. So good. So I can't believe this place isn't overflowing with people. And one thing that I was really struck by was, I usually haven't listened to a lot of rap because the lyrics out there usually are, pretty rough in terms of, what's being promoted with the lyrics. And so when I hear the raps that are going on here, it's so inspiring. And I think culture is shaped a lot by music. It's shaped by Hollywood. And so the themes that you guys are all talking about are so important. And so I wonder about, if these kinds of themes, if you guys are disseminating your music, which I'm sure you're doing or should be doing in different ways, how do you think young people would respond? Because, when you're young and you're a gangster or whatever, the kinds of things you're talking about from a mature perspective are maybe not that cool or that popular, but at the same time, being that you guys have all gone through it, you probably can make a difference and maybe get through to people because of who you are. So I'm just curious how you think this would be received if it gets out there farther and wider, and then how can we get these kind of messages to young people before they end up in prison as opposed to, having to go through it after you're here?
I could talk a little bit about that. My name is Reese. There's only one, so. Music for young teens is part of their development. Around it's like their identity around 15 to almost 25. That's where their development really comes. Where they start listening to a lot of music and they try to find their identity and try to fit in with a lot of stuff. So the stuff that we promote, if they see that guys can actually change their lives, that we come to prison and we talk about these things that show them what is cool, that it's okay to be a square or it's okay to go to school. I think that has an impact on that'll have a lot of impact on a lot of youth instead of exploiting people or degrading people, and they'll realize that, it's okay. We do something here. We have a group, me and Jason back here, we're in this group called No More Tears, and we also, we do this thing with mic sessions where the youngsters here, they come back there and we talk about these type of issues of stuff that we go through, struggles, dysfunctional families, and when they get to express that, they get an outlook on what really is acceptable and what's not. And it helps them change their attitude about how life is really perceived. And they get an idea that it's okay to be this square, or however you want to call it, or however the labels they put on it. So I think it's important that they do hear this type of music and show them, guys like us, it's okay to be a square or talk about these type of issues. So.
What's up? When I'm the Thriller in Manila. Got my mama still in the buy us gifts for Christmas. So F your feelings, brother, this is Blizzard. I'm trying to reach the children. The nice stuff will have them right in prison. These grown dudes behaving like some children. and they can't read and write, so you sound stupid if you speaking right. So where they at, that's where I meet them, right? Then we can lead them, right? So what I try to do is this, man. I try to lead them. I try to understand where the kids are at, their mindset. I understand where my people are at, and I try to just understand that, and I try to trick them. So I do other music, but I slide the positive stuff up under them so they can see it. And I think coming from me, a dude who didn't live that life, who done did 11 years in prison, I think they will accept it more, and that's why I put the energy I put in my music so they can feel it. That's why I put all my emotion into it.
So my name is Maverick, and if you notice, my piece was about that because that's why I'm here, because of negative influences. I didn't know who I should be, who I could be, and the music that we make here, we're trying to change the culture of music, because for so many generations, being tough, to do crime and stuff, to degrade women was the norm in music. If you didn't do that, you're not cool. And so we want to create a new culture of music to speak and combat all the negative influences that the Nicki Minaj's and the Lil Waynes and of the world today, may cause our children to want to do. We speak about it's okay not to use drugs. It's okay to be you. It's okay to want to learn to be better. And it's my aspiration to create a center out there on the street, because if you guys create an avenue, a platform where children can actually go, then you'll be able to mold these young minds, because I hope to create a performing arts theater, the Magic Performing Arts Theater with Soraya, and MAGIC stands for Music, Arts, and Guidance Influences Change. And only through that, and only through that will we be able to actually change the narrative of what's going on in children's minds today.
Hello, my name is Chris. David, that's a good question about lyrics and music. We weren't able to perform one of the pieces today called Uninvited. Let me give you some of the lyrics to Uninvited. A home and a country should leave us no more. Their blood was washed out, their foul footsteps pollution. No refuge could save the hiring and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave. And the star-spangled banner in triumph doth wave o'er the land of the free and home of the brave. Thus, you don't have to listen to music if you don't want to, if you don't like the lyrics. We have choice in this country. So I choose to set an example for my grandchildren and children to do your thing and just have fun. Don't criticize or stereotype people for what they want to do or how they want to live their lives. Just relax and have fun. I agree with you to a certain extent about rap music. The lyrics aren't cool. That's the same thing they said about another black American art form, jazz. They said the same thing about rock and roll. When does it stop for the brothers?
Real quick, my name is Antoine. Hello. I think it is, first off, it is extremely important to understand the power that music has. Music should be a moment of truth. Music will last forever. When we are gone, our lyrics, our rhymes, the message that we put out will forever live on this planet. So I think it's important for all of us men up here, men and women who are involved in music to some capacity, to make sure that that platform is honored for what it is. For what it truly is. It's a platform to help change, to help guide, to help nurture. So it's not about making it acceptable. It's being truthful with who we are, what we've been through, and trusting that somebody will relate to that, regardless to if it's hip or not. We may not be the person to change the world, but it could be our song to spark the change in somebody that changes the world. We just need to change one person, and that one person can change the world. So it isn't always about reaching the masses. It's about reaching the people that need it and knowing that the message and the experiences that we all have as a collective is powerful enough to do that. So I think all of the men up here and women that are involved with music, we understand that. So we make sure when we do perform, regardless of if it's rap, singing, jazz, rock and roll, whatever it may be, we do it in a way that honors the society as a whole, and not just us. It's not for partying, it's not for feeling good, it's for changing the atmosphere in which we all live in. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Kells. To answer your question for me, right? You noticed earlier the way that I actually performed my song, it was more so along the lines of actually showing what I believe to be the ignorance, right? Being involved in the streets, the gang culture and whatnot, and ignorance just in the sense that we don't know no better because we don't have any proper guidance. So it was a young guy in the program that I do here for the Wild Peace with several other guys here. He had asked a question. He said, well, why do you guys never tell us the other side of what happens? He just said, you always tell us, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, but why don't do this, all right? So with the song that I actually wrote, y'all heard today, it was just putting a big light on this is the life that we live, and these are the consequences within that life when you make this choice, because even though I didn't know no better as a kid, I still had a choice. Regardless of the influences, my society, my neighborhood, all that stuff, I still had a choice to make, and I just chose wrong, right? So I own my decisions and decisions that I make, but I want them to see like, hey man, this is what it really is. And when you in the streets like this, these are the consequences that can possibly happen and alter your life forever. So when I make my music, I do it in a way that sends a clear message to them, kind of like what you heard, you know, Maverick, Reese, Banks, a lot of these dudes were saying, is to try to change the perspective. I'm not going to try to change you. I'm not here to try to change anybody, but just try to change your perspective and understanding that you do have a choice to make a better one, right? And that everything doesn't have to be glorified that we grew up in, right? And trying to get people who have those sentiments about rap music, there's a whole nother art form, a whole nother artistry that takes place that's not always negative, right? You have people like Kendrick Lamar, right? You have guys like J. Cole, you know, guys in here, right? Whose art form is not negative, right? So I think a lot of it has to do with the social structure and the people who actually run these record labels and these companies, that it's more promotable to put the negative stuff out there because of these sentiments that's surrounded by African American people, Latino people, anybody that's involved in rap music. So when you have these driving forces that's pushing this negativity out there, that's pretty much that all gets seen. That's all that gets heard because it's on the radio, it's on TV, but you don't get the chance to hear how Banks, Reese, you know, James, what they said. You don't get the chance to hear what Jesse James said. That gets blocked out because we don't want to be pushing that out there. That's not going to sell, quote unquote. You know what I mean? So this platform right here, open mic sessions, what they mentioned, this is how we're able to get that stuff out there to start trying to change how rap music is perceived.
Question too, coming from a gang culture, it's deeper than that. I too was a person that made excuses, blame my community, and all these things. One thing that we have to do is get out of passing the buck. It starts at home. We need to stop desensitizing our youth. There's 3 conditions that most mothers and fathers teach their kids because they're trying to protect them or they think they're protecting them from the streets, which is it's not cool to cry, it's not cool to tattletale, and it's not cool to back down from anything. So if a child can't be his authentic self, then of course he's going to go out there and be infatuated with doing what they call barbaric type things just to prove that there's something bigger than what they claim to be. So we have to educate each other and stop passing the buck, take responsibility, and stop. The schools is going to do what they do, but the education starts at home first.
Hi, my name is Gabriel, and I was an actor many years ago in a show with Leslie, and I've known about this program for ages, and when I first heard about it, I was like, oh, I really want to see that. I really want to be part of it somehow, and being here was, I had no idea what to expect. I thought there might be like giant walls between us, and here we were just like sitting amongst you, and there was this, oh my gosh, oh sorry, oh wow, you're in a, you know, it was like a lot of things shifted for me just being able to be here and getting this glimpse into your lives in this particular way was really powerful. And I have two questions. One is, you know, we get to go home now, and I'm curious, what's it going to be like? What is it like for you to be witnessed by these strangers coming in and you share all these intimate details with us? And then tonight, or whenever you're going to look back on it, how does that feel for you to be seen? And then that's part one. And then the other part was, as someone who wants to sort of offer this idea of like, oh, I thought maybe I could one day volunteer and do this drama thing in the prison and, you know, play and connect and hear stories and do all that. And then noticing, and this question's scary to ask, but noticing it was all women who were, or at least it seemed to be, who were in that role. I'm curious what that would be like. Does it happen where there's men doing it, and what would that be like? Yeah, thanks.
I'm going to answer the second question. There's plenty of men doing this work in prisons, and we've had men who work with us as well. But women are caring and compassionate and strong and equal. But most, in our program, most of the teachers and volunteers are women. But I'll let the rest of you answer some more questions.
Thank you. My name is Richie Morris. I have to agree with you. They carry the torch well. They carry it. It's an incredible thing. I've been having them lock the door on me for 33 years. Okay, I've been in since 1985. So that part is of stepping off of this and back into this other reality. It's just the way that it is in this context. I have to separate that from this personally, if that makes any sense. This is medicine, right? And it's like when I play my music, it's my medicine. I do that because I know there's still healing in me that needs to be done. I spent 2.5 decades on level 4 prisons where this didn't exist. So that when I came here, right, this was very disconcerting in the sense that, okay, now I'm up close to people that are actually treating me like a human being. How do I deal with this? Right? So what it does, it's like osmosis. You know, I learn by watching and from the example that they set for me as citizens that step in and out of this context, right? How to treat other human beings. And we're all human beings, right? And Gary, hey Gary, the thing about it is this, and I'll end with this, right? And these guys are so tired of me saying this. I am one person that absolutely believes and am convinced that there's only one race, and that's the human race. You know, when we get past our willingness to be divided, we come together and we do amazing things. Look at these guys. Some of these cats in here had absolutely no idea that they had the capability to do this. I didn't. This is very intimidating when we first step into Shakespeare, right? I mean, it's, excuse my language, but it's scary as hell, right? But I've learned by watching, right? And the people around me showing me how to move and how to work, right? And in that, you know what? It's deepened me. And I believe it's made me a better person. And I have you to thank for that, Leslie. Soraya, thank you. I'm out.
Hi, my name is Jad Salem. And to answer your question, the first part of your question, interacting with free people and then going back to the cell, interacting with you guys is really part of our rehabilitation because level 3s and 4s like we can't even shake your hand or interact with you guys, or we don't even see any visitors. This is the most I've seen visitors in 16 years and put together in all the other prisons I've been to. So when we see free people in other prisons, it's usually 2 or 3 or 4 people, and they're at a distance, they're locking us down. They make us feel like we're dangerous, they make us feel like we're animals, and they need to protect these free people. So when I came here a little bit over a year ago, and I interacted and encountered free people, felt a little bit more like a human. I felt a little bit more like, okay, they don't see me as dangerous, or they don't see me as violent, or they're not scared of me. Any other prison, they make you feel that way. They escort this, and they take out the baton, and they make you feel like you're getting ready to like pounce like a lion on somebody just because they're a free person. So they make you feel like you're dangerous, or you're not normal, or, you know, we have to protect the free people that visit. And over here it's completely different. And interacting with you guys, it is part of our rehabilitation, because once we get out, we're gonna see you guys and interact with you guys. So having that process now, interacting with you guys and slowly getting over that, you know, I'm a human too, I'm not just a prisoner, like I'm more than just a prisoner. It's a step forward, and it's an easier process when we get out to interact with the public. And on the second part of the first question, how do we feel when we go back? Me personally, I try not to be, my mindset, try not to be in prison too much. I'm more focused on what's going on with my family outside. I'm more focused with what's going on with my friends outside. I'm more focused what I'm gonna do when I get out outside. And I'm more focused on what I'm doing here now that's gonna help me when I go outside. So I try not to focus too much on the inside. I try to focus what I'm doing here to affect the outside.
My name is Troy.
Hi, Troy.
I years ago, I would be like deathly afraid of public speaking. I've been in prison 21 years, and since I was 15. And so, you know, in the 90s, when I came in 96, and so the narrative in 1996 was that, you know, these youth who commit crimes were these super predator, right? And what do we do with super predator? We lock them up. And so locking up these super predators, you know, we buy into the, you know, the narrative that I am a super predator, I am this bad person, and so, you know, and my actions, you know, dictated that, right? And coming into this arena here in this area, and like, dang, I'm not what they said that I am, right? You know, and I think, you know, it's very liberating, you know, when you come to your own and come to this understanding, like, I'm my own person. I can think on my own. I can do things on my own. I'm free in my mind, right? And so it really, really is, you know, an honor and a privilege and a blessing and very healing to be a part of something like this. You know, and just the platform that we have as men, you know, coming from our background, right? It's very, yeah, very healing, you know, and it makes the journey of prison, you know, that much more, tolerable, right? Awesome, you know. No. But I really very empowering, right? Very empowering, and just something is, you know, being in this group, it says something, you know, having folks come in, you know. For one, you know, I feel, you know, I hope I don't offend anybody by saying this, right? So those who do come in, or you wish to come in and work with us, please don't come in with the mindset that I want to go in and help these people, right? Please, you know, it really, when you come in with that mindset, it really does us a disservice. You know, if you want to empower, right, come with open hands, and we're gonna meet you with open hands as well, you know, and open hearts and open everything, you know. So, yeah, I appreciate everybody and everything, and so, yeah, thank you.
Oh, we love you, Troy. So,
Hello, I'm Markel. To me, I really enjoy this. It makes me happy. Very therapeutic, helpful. It heals my heart. It makes me feel good. So when I leave here, the reality kicks in again. So this is, for me, a way to exercise my heart, to make it stronger, because these people here, the inmates in blue and the people from the outside, wonderful people, and we're a family. And I didn't get to do the Shakespeare yet, but
you will. Yes, you will. Yes, yes.
I'm able to be myself, be authentic. I express myself through humor, through dance, and that's why when I came in here, I think it was my second time here, I came up with a word, therapeutic, dramatific therapy. And so that's what it is. It helps us. It helps us heal from the brokenness that we come in with. And so we come out healed and healthy people. So just like a broken leg, it takes time to heal. For our hearts, from those many traumatic experiences that we had in life, we're healing. And we're going to continue to heal. And so that's what helps us to change. Thank you.
So,
And I just wanted to say one other thing about women. There were a lot of pieces today that were about women and about you guys imagining how women feel, and I think that is partly because of you having interaction with a lot of strong women. I think, yeah?
yes.
Yeah. So it's really great practice for when you go out. I love the way you're going to treat the women in your lives when you're back home. That's really good practice for that. Okay. Thank you, Gabriel.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name's Lucia. I was born and raised in Sacramento. My family comes from Mexico and Guatemala. I'm the oldest of 9, and there's a, hey. I live out here in Oakland with my sister over here, Lalis, my hermana, in the struggle. Thank you so much. Thank you. Y'all don't even know how much she talks about this and how important this work is for her. And it means a lot. I know standing right here is a real privilege, you know. And in my heart, I fill this up with all the people that I know would just love to see you guys and be empowered by your leadership and the strength that you bring. And so I have 2 things I want to say. I have a lot of things I want to say, but I'm gonna limit it to 2 because y'all don't even know how much of a experience it is to really just be standing here, right? Hey, and your work is really moving, you know. And I want to touch back on what you said about healing, you know. In my daytime job, I support leaders across the nation that are doing things, social justice work. Next month, I'm going to be meeting with a group of women that are bringing a lot of hurt into the work. And that hurt is, they're folks that do reproductive health rights and justice. And you know, under this administration, and just the general attack on women's bodies, right? There's a lot of hurt. And watching the way that you all worked with each other throughout the performance, and knowing that on this healing path, when you turn to the things that are the darkest aspects of yourself and your histories and that trauma that oftentimes we inherited from many generations ago, right? You know, when you're able to turn and face that and be open and open yourself, it's a real vulnerable spot, right? That's the kind of work that I do with this leadership model. It's actually about leading with purpose and with vision, and that means being able to face and be vulnerable, right? So any comments you have on what it's like to be on that healing path, how this work has touched you, how it's helped you to see each other in a different way. I was really just marveled at the way that y'all see each other, and I know that sharing these stories is not easy. I know that this is not easy. This means uncovering that wound, right? Or the many wounds, and the courage that it takes to be able to do that. Y'all don't even know how inspiring that is. And I mean, I wish I could, if there's a message for these folks, because what they really want to do is turn and face that, right? But it's really hard to, you know. So if you have anything on that. Also, I'm the oldest of 9. I have 5 brothers. And one of them almost got taken, you know, got caught up, and he's alive and he's fine. But, you know, as an older sister, this is such a different example, right? Of what it's like to be in your manhood and what it's like to actually send a different message, right? So the youngest one just turned 18, the oldest is 29. Anything on those tips, really would be helpful.
I would like to comment on that. My name is Ray Ray. Thank you for coming up, and that was really brave. Me at a young age, like the baby here, you know, I got caught when I was 18, you know, and the healing factor I was going through was, it was broken when I was out there because of me losing my grandma, right? And it took me 2 years to forgive the dude that killed her. I met him in Jail County and all that stuff, and he was talking about it, bragging, right? And it took me 2 years to forgive him, right? But since I've been here, I learned that you can't forgive a person just because you want to. You got to be really ready, right? So I forgave him, but deep down, I didn't forgive myself. You feel me? And I felt like I failed my grandma because I wasn't there to save her. I wasn't right there to help her. And it felt like, oh, why did this dude kill my grandma? What did she do to him? And it had that hate that was going inside me. And when I lost my grandma, my family, my mom and dad was gone. I didn't think I had a mom and dad. They was out the window. My friends was out the window. My ex was out the window. It's just all this pain I was having caused me to do my crime. And by the grace of God, I beat a 25 to life. I was facing premeditated attempted murder and all that stuff. And it hurt my mom because my mom, she put a burden on her saying she's a horrible mother. She wasn't protecting me and stuff. And I told her, no, Mom, it's not your fault. It's my fault because this is what I chose. This is what I was taking. And at that time, I was like, all I saw was hate. That's why I told her my piece. And I really didn't get to the healing part, to be honest, until I came here. And when I went into Shakespeare, and when I went into Shakespeare, it was in a way I was reconnecting with my family. I met my boy Banks, Reese, everybody in here. Mama Kate, she reminds me so much about my grandma, so much. And Soraya, everybody in here, even Richie, come here. Even Richie, but every Wednesday and Friday I look up to this, and it's I'm always happy, oh yeah, I can't wait, Shakespeare, yeah. When it gets canceled, I'll be like, dang, I can't go. And even sometimes in here we fight, but that's what a part of being a family is, and it makes us stronger. And like that's my favorite saying, Ohana means family, and family is no one get left behind or forgotten. Hashtag Leo and Stitch. The healing, right? I want to help my little cousin out there because he's trying to follow my footsteps, right? Because his dad, my uncle, was in and out of prison. I met my uncle in Delano in the reception, and he was hurt that he saw me, and my little cousin was telling me that, oh, Cousin Ray Ray, I miss you, when you gonna come home and stuff. You was like the only dad I ever had, the big brother I ever had. And then now my aunt was telling me that he's going through these phases. He's not going to school, he's getting bad grades, he's getting in fights and stuff, and it hurt because my auntie told me, she was like, Davion, why are you doing this? And he was like, easy, I want to be like my cousin Ray Ray. And then it hurt me because I thought I was leading a good example, but in reality I was losing a bad example. So I want to heal myself fully by helping him out. And like the only time I could help him out if I love myself. And so that's it.
Antoine, again, to your question. First, I think we all need to acknowledge that it is time to rise to a higher level of consciousness. Like we have a subconscious, we have a conscious, but we also have a higher conscious, and we have to get there. And you know, for the women that you work with and for your brothers, just please try to help them understand that who we think we are just parts of what people give us. We're given a name, we're given a belief in God, and we're given our morals, our values. All of this is given to us. So when your brothers are dealing with something, have them question themselves, not whether their actions were right or wrong, but simply why. Why do you feel like you got to be the man of the house? Why do you feel like you got to be a rider? Why do you feel this? Why that? Because it'll start to lend to the questions of, is this your ego? Is this your pride? Is this some kind of belief system that was instilled in us that was never, we didn't develop it ourselves. It was literally given to us, and we took it and held on to it like the gospel. And the same goes for the women that are dealing with something. Never forgive. He can never deal with that. Like, how can you forgive somebody that do something like that? You know, so being told, how can you, it'll just over time start to mold us. So just have those that you work with, your little brothers, understand that in this day and age, in this climate, it is time that we all rise to a higher level of consciousness. And that comes with understanding that we have all committed some wrong. We caused a tear in the universe that can never be repaired. But it's not always about repairing. It's about acknowledging what happened so we can prevent it in the future. Sometimes traumas have to happen in order to stop a future trauma. So please just do what you can to help the women understand that what you went through was terrible, but there is a greatness in this. We just have to know how to use it to better our future, to better life in general. So just understanding that it's time that we all rise to a higher conscience, not just understanding that there is injustice, but we need to be empowered enough within ourselves to say, I am okay with what happened to me. There is a greater reason behind it. I just have to find it. And it can't be dictated by my pride, my ego, my self-esteem, or what I feel I should be seeing or dealing with. So that's just my words to help. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. You had me in tears when you were speaking because I felt what you were saying in your heart, right? It connected with me. You know, when I was young and on the street, I didn't believe that anything that I did mattered. But now I know that every single action I take, every word I say has an impact on the universe. And so to hear you share that you was impacted today by what we came together to do today is tremendous. And I think that the key is just to speak to each other, get to know each other, get to know why you feel that way, what's the reason, what's your need you're trying to meet, and then work with each other. But thank you. Thank you for speaking. And for my daughter, I love you. I'm trying to make you proud out there. Brittany.
Gracias. First of all, you have all kinds of wisdom here, man. Like, all these men, they can help wherever. That's one thing I gotta say. And as far as the healing process of this, my uncle's over in West Block. He does veterans healing veterans. He came back from the Vietnam War, and he brought trauma with him that a lot of my uncles brought back that ended up being our trauma growing up. We started to do things that children don't do because our uncles were getting us ready for a life where we were going to get drafted to go to war. And so working with him in this, there were things that he was never able to say, things he was never able to do. We do Veterans Healing Veterans, which is another part of the Marine Shakespeare program. And this process helped us to have a conversation that we couldn't have, a history that was imposed upon us, but we never knew the history that we had. Growing up in this United States, I do not have a history in the United States. I do not have a voice that is my own. I have a voice that reflects a nation. I think one thing for your brothers is to know their history, where they come from, the pride they should have in just being Guatemateco or algo. I think is one of the answers. And I don't think there's just one answer. I think there are many things to build upon this. So if you're looking for that one answer, I don't think that's going to be. But I think if you look for a lot, this program has allowed me to be with these men here when I don't want to be with these men here. But getting to be that and taking away myself and seeing things from a different point of view is saying, I got to put myself away sometimes and quit being egotistical and quit being prideful and just say, you know what? It's not about me, it's about the men here. I think that's another thing is Banks spoke to it, is how do we stop living for ourselves and start living for our community? I think that's one of the things that's also wrong with society is living for ourselves. This program's given me friendships that I never thought I would have before. Brotherhood in different places where I never thought I would have it. I got to see a little brother of mine, Choi, whom I've known since 2002, change. That's something, and I think it has to do with storytelling. Telling our stories, and that I think for the women also, they're told so often to, shh, don't talk about that, shh, don't worry about that, just it'll blow over, give space to somebody else. I think they need to take that space that's theirs and speak on that.
Jason, I definitely want to commend you as well as all the guests. And even though I grew up in a gang, I still had people like you that was in my corner. But the difference was I didn't know how to recognize a true blessing as well as when I was truly being blessed. Banks just spoke on pride. My pride wouldn't allow me to listen to the people that was trying to show me a different way because I was so dedicated to my distorted beliefs and ways of thinking that they became my foundation. They became my truth. So in order for me to peel them back to listen to you guys who were trying to help me, I had to allow myself to be vulnerable. I had to take responsibility. I had to accept truth. And because I wasn't willing to do that, I went through the revolving door of destroying my life, back and forth to jail or whatever I was doing out there. So I thank you for the power in what you're doing as far as taking it back to the old school, which is it takes a village to raise a child and each one teach one. Right now we have that every man for himself, blind leading the blind mentality, which is destroying our communities. So I thank you for what you're doing. I thank you for the inspiration and the motivation that you bring into us, as well as each and every one of you, even the ones in blue, that's dedicating yourselves to turning this so-called negative situation into something positive. So keep being our inspiration. Thank you.
I'm gonna keep it short and brief.
So we don't have that much more time, I think,
Okay.
in order to get out before the watch change. We have a couple of men here who have questions and comments, and I'd like to give them the floor.
My name is Paul. I want to thank every single one of you on the stage, right? And especially you, Troy, because like Carlos said, I don't know where he went. Carlos, where the hell you going? But like Carlos said, you have changed a lot, bro. I know you for like 10 years now. You know, we was on that level 3 together. You know, and we both changed, but you changed a lot, bro. You know what I mean? I got to get that to you. And Chris, you must read minds or be a psychic. So all I got to say is, where do I sign up?
Well, I ain't gonna sign up, I tell you that, but.
But you're at every show,
You guys know I come to every show, check you guys out. Appreciate you guests coming in, because it's real important you guys come in, because it makes us perform better. I can say Boo and where Shaggy go?
Trying to hide. Hey, Shag?
Yeah. Your summons.
Boo and Shaggy, man. Well, Boo today. I know you by his Boo. And Shaggy, both you guys, man, you guys did a good piece. It brought tears to my eyes, because I done heard a lot of people going through the same situation over the years. I've been in 33 years, and I done heard this several times. And that there was, it started me working when I first seen it. I'd say my eyes start sweating, right? Wow. But I appreciate all you guys. You guys did a great job today, but I got a mission for Reese, 47. I got a mission for him. I got a mission for Banks. Where's Carlos go? Carlos, Yvette's, Maverick. I want y'all to bring Chris, man. I want y'all to help Chris be black, man, in that movie. One show. I seen all you guys do different. I seen all you guys do different accents and be different people in these West Coast and Chris. I don't care.
It's about letting people be them. That's what we teaching you.
Wait.
I have to be my parents' child, man.
Oh, you can be him, but you're gonna be like a Denzel Washington. You gotta be able to play all them roles. You got to change up.
I'm trying my hardest, bro.
Yeah, keep working at it, man. I need them to help you get there, man. That's when you're gonna really be a good actor, then.
It's a cold piece of work, dude.
I like him just the way he is.
Thank you all so much. Extraordinary men and women, wonderful audience members, thank you.